ask you is what made you go for the Navy?
Well, it's rather interesting you asked me that. My old grandmother. She was a close friend of Admiral Sir Doubleton Sturdy, who won the only really clear victory we had in the First World 1914 War, the Battle of the Falkland Islands, the first Battle of the Falkland Islands. And he was then a retired, old, Victorian-looking, distinguished admiral living not far from my grandmother, who sent me out to have tea with the old boy. But I was aged 12, a child, really. And I must have been so impressed by him that I squeaked that I wanted to go to the Navy. And I duly entered Dartmouth as a naval cadet. In those days, you joined at the age of 13. So in 1924, I went to Dartmouth College, Royal Naval College, Dartmouth.
Yeah. So that was that fixed that fixed you for
That's right.
of your day. Well, what do you? I mean, being in the Navy. I mean, I only watch table films up on the television and on the pictures, and most captains when you boat they do a lot of write, don't they? In a logbook as you're like, did that have anything to do with you taking up writing
No,
later on?
nothing, not at all. I was a man really of few words, and what got me into writing was that I happened to marry a very distinguished writer, Anita Leslie. She wrote 13 books, most of them during the course of our marriage, and I think was quite a bit of help to her, because she told me that she rather overwrote, that's wrote in too flowery, flowing language, where I was short and clear. So it helped her for me to read through all her scripts and, so to speak, tone them down a bit. So she said. And then she helped me, of course, write the books, 4 books which I wrote about submarining and air and sailing. And then after her death, I was able to write another book on the impetus of what had gone on during our marriage. And I'm now engaged in a novel.
Yeah. I mean, to write a book, to me, I mean, I read a lot. I do read a lot of books, and I'm one of the blokes who, I don't know, I like to write, but I would, because you must have to have a great imagination in a lot of books, I would think, because, I mean, to keep somebody interested for that amount of time whilst they're reading the book, to me, it's fantastic.
Well, we'll wait and see how this novel, if this novel A gets published, and B, if anyone buys it.
Yeah.
That's the next test. I just isn't finished yet, although it's almost finished.
I read one of your books. It was the Hable one.
That would be Dive and Attack?
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought it was great.
You like that?
I really did. But I mean, that's my kind of book.
Well, bless your heart. The credit largely goes to my wife for that book.
Is it?
I mean, oh yes, she was at my side and helped me with all that, went through all my script. Oh yes.
Because, I mean, Margaret and I we often talk about you up there, because you're all, I don't know, I don't think we've met anybody who just has filled his life so much, it appears to us, and still filling it with, I mean, you're still, to me, always looking for another challenge.
Well, that's right. We're mostly mountaineering nowadays.
Yeah, but I mean, there's not, I mean, you've been to sea, you command submarines, I mean, that after all the time in the Navy, you then come out and sail out the world.
Right.
I mean,
But this was on top of the water, not underneath.
no, I admit
Yeah.
it's top, but
Yeah.
to us, I mean, to me, usually most people, I mean, I was in the service in the army, and I mean, once I was out, I mean, no, I wouldn't be going back anywhere near takes or anything like that. Whereas, it's to me, it seems amazing that you should. I mean, must have been one hell of a challenge over in the field.
Yes, that's right. The Southern Ocean is the challenge, really. It's very rough down there.
Oh, magic.
Because there's no land. There's 14,000 miles of a TRC with all these depressions that we have. They're the same sort of depressions we have up here. But in this part of the world, the continents interfere with these traveling depressions. Down in the Southern Ocean, they simply go round and round the world unchecked. So you get very tempestuous weather down there. And then when you get round Cape Horn, close to the Antarctic, it begins to get very cold. You're only, a Drake Passage is only 500 miles, so the Antarctic is very
I
short.
mean, you were on your own, weren't you?
Yes, alone, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to me anyway, I mean, I suppose you're so busy on the boat.
Yes, you're very busy, and also I had time, when I wasn't busy, to read. Now, I find in ordinary life, you are far too busy to read. I don't know, I'm busy with agriculture, horticulture, children and grandchildren and travel and you're looking after yourselves. You're always busy. And in the boat, there were many hours when I could sit down and read deeply.
Yeah.
The books that I really always wanted to read.
Yeah.
For instance, I read the New Testament from cover to cover. I read the Quran, the Muslim Bible, from cover to cover. Zen Buddhism, the Greek philosophers, and indeed philosophers right down the ages. Novels by the great novelists, great Russian novelists, Gogol, Tolstoy. I can't remember the names for the moment. French novelists, Thomas Hardy, great novels that one somehow never has time to get down to. I had a library of about between 30 and 50 books, of course, paperbacks.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I mean, I read quite a lot, not, of course.
yes.
And, like seafaring ones, I like all that type. A good war story, I like. I mean, like yourself, you're saying, I mean, like most people, I think there are only a few that are still looking for further challenges. Right, you are. Your time of life. I mean, you don't mind. Well, I mean, the man I always bring to mind is to take on the tremendous task at a ripe old age was Sir Winston Churchill. Right. He's always been my hero. As I was brought up. He was old enough to join the service at that time, but it seems to me he took on a tremendous amount at was he 65 years of old age or something, was he? And you, I mean, even now at your age, you're still looking for further challenges.
Well, right. Winston, of course, I knew very well because he was my wife's cousin. He was my father-in-law's first cousin.
I didn't know that.
And we went and used to go and stay with him, Chartful. And I've sat next to him at dinner, and very exciting. And he was still in good form. He was in very good form up to his 80th birthday.
Yeah.
I was at his 80th birthday party in 10 Downing Street.
Was he?
It was very exciting. My wife was lent a beautiful gown for the occasion by Worth, the famous couturier, who used to dress Jenny, who was Winston's, Lady Randolph Churchill was Winston's mother. And my wife had written Jenny's biography, and Worth, as a sort of promotional thing, I suppose, lent her this gown, which was, God knows, would cost as much as a motor car. And we had to give it back the next day. Yeah. It was a sort of crinoline effect, which was so voluminous that there wasn't room for two of us. We had to take 2 taxis to get there. There wasn't room for me in the dress taxi.
Oh, what? I mean, to me, that's great too. I mean, I've only seen Sir Winston Churchill in books, yes, or in the newsreel, yes. But there is a thing coming up this week or next week about someone
On the telly, is it?
on the tape.
Yeah,
Which I'll be watching now. I was trying to see it very carefully, because as I say, that's that is the in my lifetime I'd be even which our biggest straight. But that made you even greater to sit down at the table.
Well, it was very rewarding. And I remember after a lunch, we passed round a bottle of brandy. And I said, "No, thank you, sir, I don't drink brandy." "Oh," he said, "but you must have some of this." And this was 100 years old, to be given to him by some Portuguese millionaire. I must say it was quite different to any other brandy I'd ever sniffed at. I did have a glass.
Yeah. Well, I did meet your wife.
If she came, I did.
Yeah. Only once I was here. I think you were sitting out here. Yes, the first time I met. The only time I met your wife.
Well, she suffered from the cold. She was she was asthmatic, and there had to be a war. And she found that English country houses were cold. Oh, she said I could only go down in a heat wave.
Mind you, if you feel the cold, there's nothing worse, And I mean, I like it small coated myself. Well, I'll give that break for that. So good, I thought.
Yes, I thought so.
And Margaret said to me, "You've never asked him enough questions. We've got more to tell you than that." I said, "Well, I thought when I was probably pushing. I felt like, I was pushing you a little bit.
Well, that's good. You see, we did what, half an hour or what, quarter of an hour or so.
Yeah, it wasn't long,
Yeah. It's better that way.
Yeah. I think what I'd like to do. Am I right in thinking that you attempted to sail around the world single-handed twice?
No,
No.
it's not quite as like. What happened was that we started out. In a way, it's true. It's sort of half true. What happened was I started out, was rowed over in a hurricane, got into Cape Town, with broken masts, shipped the boat home, and started out again.
Oh, I see.
So you might say we did it once and a third, or something like that. I don't know.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then, I've been told, Margaret, you had an experience with sharks.
That's right. That time. Yeah.
Yeah, could you tell me about it?
Yes.
It was, what actually happened?
Well, we're on now.
Yeah, we're on now. Oh, yes, we're on.
I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Well, the fact is,
We are on the air.
oh, no, I hadn't got time for that. The fact is, I was sailing out of Australia, Fremantle, Western Australia, to go down south of Australia and off round south of New Zealand and south of Cape Horn. And I just got round the bottom left-hand corner of Australia. I was sailing away for with a free wind, fast, in the right direction. And I was down below at the time, facing out to port. That's the left-hand side as you look forward.
Yeah.
And there was a most almighty crash, and in front of my eyes, literally in front of my eyes, a great mushroom, a great piece of the hull, mushroomed inwards. I suppose about 3 foot by 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
A great mushroom came inwards. One of the ribs, which was bent like a rib, that outwards was knocked inwards, and the timber was all splinter. And I could actually see blue water through the bottom of the boat, through the cracks. And that's the time you have to ring up God or the insurance company. or the rescue services.
Yeah. Well, you would have a radio on board.
I had
Yeah.
a radio. I had a two-way radio at the time. However, I got immediately, I panicked and got on to the rescue services ashore.
Yeah.
But luckily, perhaps, or unluckily, the radio didn't work. It's been put out of action. It had never really recovered from being rowed over in the hurricane earlier. And something got into its little part. And although they worked on it, the Marconi people, it never worked properly after that. At any rate, it didn't work. So I was back to square one on my own. And, of course, the first thing to do is to put the boat on the other tack, that is, put the wind on the other side, to lift the damage was below waterline on the downward facing slope of the boat, which was heeled over by the wind. So I put the wind on the other side, which lifted the whole out of the water. And then you could look at it, scratch your head, and think what to do. Because otherwise you would sink fast, the water was gushing in.
Yeah.
When the wind was on the other side and the damage was lifted, it only splashed as the wave splashed over, it came in, but not pouring and gouting in.
No.
So one had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me about 3 days to repair it. During the course of which, instead of sailing where I wanted to, I was sailing towards the South Pole, which is where I didn't want to go. But nonetheless, it was lifted out of the water. And I had 3 clear, and luckily the wind stayed about the same force.
So you actually repaired it,
Yes.
and then you continued.
Then I realized I'd never make it round the Cape Horn. I returned to Australia for repairs.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
No, that was the limit of my possibility, was to get the boat there. By then, Australia, the Fremantle was about 600 miles away. Still a way to go. Which, of course, in oceanic terms is very short. And it took me quite a bit of time to get in. I had 13 ropes around the hull, which slowed you down a lot.
Yeah.
They were clamping a sort of potace on top of the hull.
I'm with you. Yeah. Just like the water.
Called the water, and I had repairs inside. I put struts inside, cut off beams, wedged them with hardwood wedges. I put softwood wedges carefully over the places that were splintered there, and stuck various towels and things in the holes and cracks. And then I discovered, very fortunately, some sort of yellow goo. I can't remember its scientific name, which I could stuck into the cracks, a sort of plasticine stuff, which seemed to make a water tight.
Yeah.
Chance, I only had it on board by chance. Anyhow, by the end of it, I'd got a good enough job to get back on the other tack and get back to Australia, which I did.
When you get into Australia, was there people who knew like you were making that crossing and would be there ready to do any repairs, or do you have to? When we went in there, so he ran round and find people.
Well, I was extremely lucky. I'd had the help of a man who had a fishing boat dockyard called Marco, who was a Yugoslav, gigantic man, one of the strongest men I'd ever seen, and extremely nice, and we'd become great friends before. So straight into Marco's yard, of course, where he had a very sophisticated young man who did the most splendid repair. I remember him well. He was a Seychellois, a Frenchman from the Seychelles Islands, and he did the most beautiful job. Halfway through the job, he had to go off and bury his mother or something, so that got held up. Nobody else could work so beautifully as he was, such expert class. I may say at the time I was very short of money. I wasn't short of money, I was out of money. And Marco, I must say, the whole thing filled me with despair because I couldn't get insured. They wouldn't insure me except in channel limits at home. Yeah. Marco, I suppose, did at least £1,000 worth of repairs and gave me a bill for 50 quid. And I said to him, Marco, you'll never be a millionaire. He said, friendship is more important.
Oh, yeah, that's
I don't remember. That was very nice. That was very, God, I'm very, very touched.
yeah. Up to, um, and then after repair, you
Then after the repair, I finally, again, there was another delay. I got repaired and started out again and realized as soon as I got to see that I was totally exhausted and it'd be very foolish to continue around Cape Horn. So I put back again, left the boat until the next summer season, and came out again and started off again and got round Cape Horn and back into Plymouth.
that's what you came in.
That's right. What year was that? 71, I think. In 1971, I think it was.
Because I used to live at Plymouth.
Hmm?
I used to live at Plymouth.
That came around it.
What about the other thing I wanted to ask you a little bit more about was, when you was in the submarines.
Yes.
As I say, I did read your book. Yes,
A Diagonal Attack.
or Down in the Tank. In these submarines, Bahrain is seeing them on the television, right? Or I scope of my. I mean, as a captain of one of their boats, you must have to make some pretty snappy sort of decisions at times. I mean, have any of the crew for a start?
Well, the boat I was commanding right through the war, and the smaller boat I had at the beginning of the war, I think there were about 40 in the crew, and then later I had a larger submarine, and I think it was roughly 60.
60 men.
Roughly, I can't remember exactly, but that's rough.
Because it all looks, when you look at them, they all look machinery. Where do they,
Where do they see?
where did the men go?
Well, that is the
60
point.
men.
It's the most awful overcrowding. They sort of, for a start, you work what's called the hot bunk system. There isn't room for them all.
No.
So as 1/3 are always on watch, the man who comes off watch goes into the bunk of the man who relieves him. And that is called the hot bunk system. Because the bunk's warm when he gets down.
Yes, yeah.
There isn't room for everybody. The hot bunk system, and then you slung hammocks in between the torpedoes, the reload torpedoes. No, it's an awful crowd, an awful overcrowding.
Yeah. Because you have recently, or not long, you think to look at, an American submarine, haven't you?
No, it was a British nuclear submarine.
That's right, yeah.
Yes, I had a ride with British nuclear submarine.
You must have felt.
It's very different, obviously. But they're much bigger crew. I can't remember as ever 100, 100 or 200 net. A very large ship. I think it was 5,000 tons or something. And I was amazed to learn from one of the junior ratings that they still work the hot bunch system.
So it's
Yeah.
not like trying to see one way.
It looks so enormous, but nevertheless, more men, of course. And
When a submarine goes out of build, is it? Obviously they sail submerged.
yes,
Um,
you mean aboard the submarine?
yes.
Yes.
Well, no.
In my day,
Yeah,
yes.
your day. I mean, you go out to do you go submerged. How long can you stay submerged?
Well, until the oxygen, in those days, it was until the oxygen gave out. After we had very unfortunate experience off the coast of Norway. We had to patrol off the coast of Norway during the summer when there is no darkness. We relied on the darkness in those days to come to the surface, to renew the air, the oxygen, and to recharge the batteries, the electric batteries, which would have been run down. in the winter, of course, you had a good long night. But yeah, the summertime it got worse. Up north of Norway, it became very bad indeed. And we lost, I think, 75% of the submarines involved were sunk. You had no chance at all because the enemy patrols could see you turn and you hear air patrols, particularly surface patrols. So this was a very, very sticky time. And therefore, the answer to your question was very difficult because if you got the answer, you'd be dead, if you see what I mean. At the end of 18 hours, you certainly couldn't strike a match. If you struck a match, it wouldn't light because there wasn't enough oxygen to support the combustion of a match. You would be breathing in heavy labored gasps, like a man up the top of Mount Everest, or panting like dogs. And how much longer it would go on for, I don't know. What was known, what was discovered later, was that the mixture, the lack of oxygen, and particularly carbon dioxide you breathe out all under pressure, has a very toxic effect on the human body and affects your judgment. You start to go a bit haywire. And this, of course, in the case of a submarine body, also anybody who's operating machinery is very dangerous indeed because you make mistakes. Yeah. This was certainly got out and proved by a famous professor, Haldane, J.B.S. Haldane. He was a mathematician, tops a mathematician, and he subjected himself to tests, and they got a chamber to simulate the condition of a submarine at the end of a very long dive and pumped him up to the pressure, took the oxygen out, etc. And he was given a lot of sums to do as a top mathematician. He did them all very quickly and all wrong. So it affected his mental process.
I mean, a submarine, I presume it has a maximum depth, doesn't it, and everything?
It has a collapsing depth. And in those days, it wasn't very great. Nowadays, submarines go down to great depths. Yeah. I don't know how much, but enormous depths. And I
mean, a submarine, really, if I drive a car and it's foggy, I think, God. You know, sometimes I'm going along in a car and I think, gosh, where am I? You know, if I've missed your tail out of the car. I mean, in a submarine, you've got to rely, I take it, on instruments all the time, haven't you?
Well, either you're on a periscope depth and could periscope up and see what's going on. If you're below periscope depth, you have to depend on what was called the Aztec in those days. I think it's called sonar now.
Yeah.
Which is a piece of quartz, actually, which can be rotated. And you can send out, either you can use it as an ear to listen, or you can use it as a transmitter to range on. You can take ranges by reflecting back the echo and counting the second.
Yeah. So if there was anything,
you can listen with it.
Yeah. So does that mean if it sent out these signals and it came up against an obstacle, it would tell? Yes, you would know by that.
Yes, you would, but you wouldn't use that only in special circumstances because it is betraying to send out the signals. They'll hear it. So normally you would just keep a listening watch. And then you'd hear the beat of the enemy's propellers. In a canoe, we had the commandos to the giant boat. He was flown into Australia. But I wouldn't have done that when the war was so desperate at the beginning. By then we had Americans on our side, and things were going our way.
Yeah.
And I thought to all common humanity, I'd do that. Yeah.